ओम अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। नमां विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिते नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषाय शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंदा। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे. So, Hare Krishna and welcome you all to the level 2 Bhagavad Gita classes from ISKCON Mangaluru. So we'll discuss the fourth chapter, the second half of it, right? So in the last weekend, we covered very important topics of core chapter, right? So initially we spoke about the parampara system, right? Because we spoke about when was Bhagavad Gita spoken, right? And then to whom was it spoken? And we saw the lineage. So how old is Bhagavad Gita, right? And Krishna mentions that Bhagavad Gita was actually spoken to the Raj Rishis, right? And then to actually re-establish it because it was lost in the disciplic succession. So again, he actually spoke this to Arjuna, right? And then so this is the same Bhagavad Gita which was spoken 12 million years ago, right? And but still it has got its significance in the current day and age also, right? And then we saw about how the Lord reciprocates also, right? And then we saw the Lord's birth also, right? So we actually went through that famous verse, Janma Karma Chime Divyam, right? So, and then I think we just started 4.13 at the end. I'll just touch base 4.13 and then we'll continue. Okay. So, 4.13, right? So, this is also one of the important verses. Yeah. So, wherein Lord Krishna says, Chaturvarnam Maisastam Gunakarma Vibhagasya Tasya Kartaram Apimam Vidhi Akartaram Avyayam. So, he says that Chaturvarnam is nothing but the four varnashramas, right? So they have been created by him, my system. So he has created, okay? On what basis? That is not the basis of which now we are looking at, right? So I think these all things got mixed up when we were invaded and then when Britishers started ruling, right? So they actually magnified this in a wrong directions, and then they took it into caste system and all those things, right? So, but earlier it was not. So it was on guna karma. Okay. So that was based on the material nature and the work associated with it. It is not on the basis of caste or where you are born. Okay. So the Puranas are always authentic, yeah, but the problem is in between. So people make so many versions of it and then they tweak it, and yeah. So this is not based on caste system purely. Okay. So basically, there are four types of varnashramas, right? So basically varnas, and then we'll go into ashramas. Okay. So the first one is brahmanas. So brahmanas are the one who actually educate, right? So in the past, right, the brahmanas were not taking any salary. Okay. So if there were if there was a kingdom, then there used to be learned brahmanas who actually enlightened the kings and the his king and then the subordinates and even the general people, right? So their job was to only go and enlighten people. So they never actually looked for huge palaces, right, or huge remuneration, nothing. So they used to live in a simple thatched hut. That's it, right? And even the kind of attire also they used to have, it was very simple, right? Mostly in the past, it was non-stitched. Okay, so that was the stature of Brahmanas by then. And then even if the Brahmanas go to the court, right? So the king, out of respect, he used to get up and then he used to offer his seat. Yeah. So was that is what actual Brahmanas are. So whosoever it is, right? Not based on the caste, even today, right? Whosoever is so enlightened and then who can enlighten the society, right? So they are classified as Brahmanas. And Kshatriyas are in, and their mode is of goodness. Okay, so they don't dwell with this hatred, envy, and all those things. Yeah? Then it comes in mode of passion. Is nothing but Kshatriya. Kshatriyas are the administrators or the kings, right? And then their job was to actually protect their praja. Okay, and if there are any invasions or if there are any say problems like robbery or whatsoever problems are there, they used to resolve it. So with whom? With the consultation of the Brahmanas. Okay, and so the Brahmanas were not working, right? So because their work was this, and then they were studying Vedic literatures. And at that time, right, even if somebody has to send in, right, if the kids have to be, if the kids have to go to any school or they have to study, right, they used to actually recite with the Brahmana. So he would be his guru. So they used to go and stay with the Brahmanas and then learn with them. So they used to serve him and then they used to learn him. So that's Gurukula. So wherein the Brahmanas would actually preach, right? And then they'll actually be for some time. So the kids will be there for some time. Say after their education is done, right? So they'll move out. Okay. And the Kshatriyas, as I said, right, they are basically for protection of Brahmanas, cows, right, and Praja, right. So the main business of Kshatriyas is protection of cows, right. So that by then, in the historical days, it was Brahmanas and cows along with the Praja. So that was their this one institution, right. And then it was Vaishyas. So who are they? So they are actually the mercantile class, right? So who used to do business? Say could be in textile, cow farming, and all those things, right? And they used to do some banking stuff. Everything comes under Vaishyas. So they were mixed of passion and ignorance. Okay. And last is the Shudras. Shudras are nothing but in the mode of ignorance who for helping all the above three classes of people, right? So to do their work done, right? Say they used to go and help them. Okay. This was the four classes of people. So who cannot do anything independently, basically. Sudras, they are dependent. So for a job. So basically, if you look in Kali Yuga, right? So most of us are Shudras only because we are all working for the money, right? So at the end, we are serving one master, right? So either a corporate master or some other master, right? So he is a master, right? So in that way, so that is the Guna Karma Vibhaga. Okay. So it is not that say I have born in some Brahmana family, then say I should be categorized as a Brahmana. So what is the use if the same person doesn't follow the four regs and then he eats meat, socializes, drinks, then there is no point, right? So that is the thing. Okay. So I think these are all discussed. Okay. So he has only created, yeah. So we just touch base these things, yeah. And then even ashramas we know, right? So ashramas are nothing but brahmacharya, right? So brahmacharya, grihastha, vanaprastha, and sannyas. Okay. So these are varnas. Okay. Varna ashramas, sorry. So these are ashramas. Okay. So basically, the first stage is brahmacharya, right? So basically, when a person is getting his education, he follows celibacy at that time. Okay. That's the phase. And then he enters slowly into grihastha, right? So once he has passed through this gurukula and everything, right? So he goes into a grihastha life. And then after some years, right? Say after getting married, having children, even in there, so we'll go through those things also. So he maintains some celibacy and then he actually goes into the other phase, which is known as vanaprastha. He lives the gets retirement from the family life, and at the end, last end is leg is sannyas, so wherein he completely dedicates his life towards the spiritual upliftment. So basically, if you have 100 years, right, 25 years for brahmacharya, 25 years for grihastha, 25 years for vanaprastha, and 25 years for sannyas. So just I'm giving an hypothetical example. Yeah? So basically, in the olden days, right? So the kings and others, they used to live for a longer duration, and then they used to have such renunciation also, so they can live. Say, if you look the example of Bharat Maharaj, or it's take the example of Lord Sri Ram himself, right? So they were never attached to the position or anything, right? So Lord Sri Ram wanted what was being informed. So So one day it was being informed that Lord Sri Ram would be the next prince or the king, right, of Ayodhya. What happened next day? It was being said that you'll have to go to exile. And then he went in, right? He accepted it. So was there any issue saying that no? So they were very detached. Even Parikshit Maharaj, right? So when Parikshit Maharaj was being cursed by Shringi, and he was being informed saying that you have only 7 days, right? The moment he heard, he left all his kingdom, his palace, his wives, children, everything. And then he went with just one cloth. That's it. And then he went and then sat on the bank on the bank of Yamuna. So that was there with them. So they were never attached, right? So even you take the example of Buddha also, right? Siddharth, he was also a prince. He also left it, right? Say they were never attached to this bhoga. So it is only for us. Yeah. See, these are the ashramas for Brahmana. So Brahmana can actually go through all the four ashramas. Okay. But for Kshatriyas, only three. Okay. Similarly, for Vaishyas, right? Say they have two. And then Shudras only have one. So now we'll see that the Lord actually takes us further here. So until now, we saw the four sections which are being created, and then why did he create actually? So he created these things to uplift one. Okay, all the divisions were being actually created. So because everyone is not equal, right? So the whole process was basically to get one purified, right? And then they'll approach. So depending upon these varnashrama dharma, right? So one will actually approach the Lord. Okay. So that's the reason. So it is for the benefit of us only. So these things are done. Yeah. So this is not something on the other way which we should look in. Okay. So and now we'll see that now is Krishna says that he has created all these things, but he is actually aloof from it. Okay. So the Lord is never having any reactions material actions and reactions, right? Though he is born here, so we actually learned that his body is Sachitananda, right? Vigra. So either he is in material world or he is in transcendental, in the spiritual world, his body is completely transcendental, right? And then he is not affected by the law of karma, right? So because he is the creator, right? So how will he be impacted? So one of the example which Prabhupada also gives in, he says that the king will create a prison house, right? So wherein the prisoners will be there. Okay. So if we do something wrong, then you'll be put in a prison, right? So, but the king, right? The king actually, if he visits to the prison house, right? So it doesn't mean that he's a prisoner, right? So that's in that way, though Krishna comes here, but he's not affected with these things. Yeah. And then we even learn, right? So when he is here, he does everything for to show the general mass of people that they should actually follow it, right? Namam karmani limpanti name karma phalesparah iti mam yo abhijanati karma bhirna sa bhadyate. So there is no work that affects me, nor do I aspire for the fruits of action. Yeah. One who understands this truth about me also does not become entangled. So if anyone understands this also, I think, yeah, this was one of the questions when Mataji had asked. So I think in the first class she had asked. So this is the Virya Rasa, right? So which he is enjoying. Okay, and then the Lord is not partial. Okay, so uh, they are he is actually equal to all. Okay, so he doesn't see the living entity separately. Okay, so and for him, right? So all the jivas are equal. So all are like his sons only, right? All are his sons actually, and so he doesn't differentiate. Okay, saying that okay, I'll favor him or I'll disfavor him or all those things. But when there is a situation when the living entities become very adharmic, right? Then the Lord has to take a charge, right? Else, if there is no discipline, right, things will not work in. So at that time, he takes a stick, right? So it is like in the family also, right? So to the parents, right, all the kids are equal, right? But if someone is doing some naughty things, right, the parent has to come and check, right? So in the same way, right? And then the other example which we can take is, so God is like the rainfall. Okay, so the rainfall falls in every location, right? So it falls on the rock, it falls on the ground, it falls on the river, right? And then it depends how we utilize the rains, right? So some use it favorably. So if it is on the land, if the soil is fertile, then there is vegetation, right? And then some use it for nothing. So like if it goes and falls in the sea, right, there is no use, right? So in that way. So we'll see 4.15. All the liberated soul in ancient times acted with this understanding of my transcendental knowledge. Therefore, you should perform your duty following in their footsteps. He's saying that in the past, all the Mahajans or say the liberated souls have followed this. So we may have a doubt, right? Whom do we follow? So he's saying that you'll have to follow them. So which is already there in the Shastras, and then follow their footsteps so that you can also get liberated. Okay, so we'll go to the next section now. Understanding karma on the platform of karma. Okay, so now this is also an important thing, right? So Karma is something which we can't stop in, right? So every day we'll, because to live we'll have to do something or the other, right? So if you are doing something, there is good and bad things, right? So there is a good credit and a bad credit, depending upon what work and then what work we are doing in, right? And then what is our consciousness in it, right? So if at all, say we are doing it in a bad intent, then we'll have a bad karma. If we are doing it in a good intention, then you'll get pious things, right? So, so karma is, and without karma, nobody can live in. So we know because soul is active, so we'll have to do some, right? Even if we take the renounced order of life, right? So even to breathe, to walk, even to actually get some food, also we'll have to act, right? So that's the thing. So now the Lord actually gives us the examples, okay, of karma. So this is a whole section he deals with these things from 14.16 to 24, right? He says that there are different types of actions, karma. Okay, so one is action, one is forbidden action, one is inaction. Okay, one is karma. Okay, so karma is, one is karma, one is vikarma, another is akarma. Okay, so we'll actually go through those things in detail. Okay, so what is karma? Okay, so basically actions which are performed, right? So any action which is performed in terms of one's prescribed duties, okay, that is karma. Okay, and vikarma, when it comes to vikarma, vikarma means the opposite of karma is nothing but misuse of one's freedom. Okay, so which are prohibited. Okay, so doing those things is called vikarma, and akarma is the actions which one performs so that he can be free from the cycle of birth and death. Okay, so and even I said, right, so karma will have to do it, and even in the Newton's third law it is there, right? So every action has got equal and opposite reaction. So the good karmas will have their own reactions, the bad karmas will have reactions, right? So now we'll actually go uh, to what is karma, what is vikarma, and what is akarma. Okay, so I'll just make it simple with an example, and then we'll go through the slides, right? Say one is working. Okay, so anyone is, so like we are working. Okay, and then so we are doing some karma, right? And then so why are we doing it? To get salary, right? So we are legitimately working, right? And then so we at the month end we are getting our salary, right? So that is karma. Okay. And then what is vikarma? So you get the salary on 1st of Feb. On 2nd of Feb, your job is empty. Your pocket is empty. So the moment you got your salary, from there you started enjoying it. So you started enjoying it in all sinful activities. Okay, so you went to pub, you went to some restaurants, you had to pay your bills because last months were due, so you cleared everything, and then you don't have anything, and you are possibly you might be in negative also access. So wherein now you'll search for the money. Okay, because you have done all forbidden activities, right? So because so actually that money was for the whole month, right? So you had to actually take care of the family or whatsoever, right? So individual depends upon the individual, right? So it was to be planned and then executed, so which was never done. So that is vikarma. Okay, and what is akarma? So you get the salary. Okay, and then whatever is your strength, or say how much soever you can actually keep aside for devotional activities, right? So you keep a small portion of it, right? And then so first that's been taken aside, and then that's been offered or utilized, and then rest of the money you use it, right? So that is a karma, right? So you're earning and then you're giving a small portion, or you're keeping something aside for the devotional activities, and then you're utilizing it. So in that way, the money which you are earning is also getting sanctified. Yeah. Yeah. Even the intelligent are bewildered in determining what is action and what is inaction. Now I shall explain to you what action is, knowing which you shall be liberated from all misfortune. Okay, so now he says, actually, Lord explains. The intricacies of action are very hard to understand. Therefore, one should know properly what action is, what forbidden action is, and what inaction is. So these are the things which we just touch base, right? So we just touch base that what is akarma, what is karma, and what is vikarma, right? And then we'll actually look into what is next. It will come action and inaction. Okay. So here, I think I just cleared it up. Okay. So this is again a graphic example of karmis, akarmis, and vikarmis, right? So karmis, they actually follow what is there in the scriptures, right? So they follow the Vedas. They are very pious, right? So what happens is with doing all those things, right? So they'll actually go back to the heavenly planets. Okay. So, and then basically they'll go to some Svargaloka, right? And they'll stay there because there the duration is bigger. Okay. So anything, because someday I'll show you the Goloka chart also. Maybe in next, yeah, I think in any one of the class, I'll just show you the Goloka charts wherein we have different uh, levels. Okay. So basically the whole Brahmanda is actually divided into three. Okay. The upper, middle, and lower. Okay. So the lowers are nothing but the hellish planets. Okay. So anything beneath the earth. Okay. So those are we are situated in Bhuarloka, which is in the mid. Okay, middle section. Anything above it, right? They are all heavenly planets. Okay, and then below are hellish. So they'll actually go to an heavenly planet where they have longer life, right? And then where they can enjoy soma rasa, right? So they can drink wine, right? So comparatively, their ages are like say 10,000 years, 5,000 years, right? Depending upon which planet you go. And then what happens is if you're not utilizing your body, your actual connection to the Lord, right? So then you'll again come back to the Mrityuloka. It's nothing but the material world, right? So wherein again you'll have to take birth, right? So that we don't know. So whether you'll get a human form, so depending upon what activities you have done, right? So, eh, so there are 84 lakh species. So we can be a worm, you can be an animal, you can be a tree. We don't know. You can be an animal living in the sea, right? So there are so many things. So that's the thing. Vikarm is no chance, right? So they're just opposite. So they'll not follow any Vedas, right? Say more the higher chances are that say they'll again go to a lower species of animals. Okay. So if somebody is actually more close, or so who is actually very fond of eating meat, right? So all throughout the life he is doing that only, right? So, and then if he has somehow or the other, his subconscious mind is also having that kind of nature, right? So probably the Lord will actually give in his next life, right? So when he is born, so he'll be born as a carnivorous animal, so wherein he can enjoy the meat, right? So we don't know. So which species will go in? It depends upon the nature, right? And the time of living our bodies. Those things will come and we'll see. So that's vikarma. So they'll not follow. And then akarmis are pure devotees. Okay. And then so knowing their activity, so they know that say what is right, and then they take up the devotional service and then they'll move in. Okay. And so yeah, so here one who sees inaction in action and action in inaction is intelligent among men, and he is transcendental position. Yeah, although engaged in all sorts of activities. So here the Lord says that any action, right? So basically this is we spoke about so many actions and all these things, right? So here the Lord basically says that when we do a work, right, and then there is no reaction to it, so that is action in inaction. Okay. So like if we are actually preparing food and then we are offering the bhoga to the Lord and then we are eating the prasadam, right? So that's sanctified, right? So that's action in inaction. So the other way is inaction in action is nothing but if we are actually doing, we saw in chapter 3 we saw in, right? So the renounced order of life, if you are actually pretending uh, to be in a renounced order of life, but still our senses are actually getting attracted to the sense object, right? So that is the other one. Yeah. Okay. Hmm. Hare Krishna, I just saw a hand raised. Prabhuji or Mataji, so we'll take it at the end. Is that okay, Prabhuji or Mataji? I didn't see the name, but I just got a pop-up.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. I only have raised the hand. I have some doubts. So I will
Go.
ask at the last. Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Else we'll not be able to finish, Mataji. Let me finish this and then we'll go through your query. Okay? Hope
Okay,
that's
sure.
fine. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji. So one is understood to be in full knowledge, whose every endeavor is devoid of desire for sense gratification. He is said by sages to be a worker for whom the reactions of work I have burned up by the fire of perfect knowledge. So whatever work we do in devotion, right? So those, and then not for sense gratification, right? So not expecting like say after this I should get this without expectation, right? So any detachment from the sense gratification, right, we work in, right? In those cases, right, the Lord actually burns the reactions. Yeah. So these are all the qualities. Yeah. So we'll just move ahead. Yeah. Such a man of understanding acts with mind and intelligence perfectly controlled, gives up all sense of proprietorship over his possessions, and acts only for the bare necessities of life. Thus, working, he is not affected by sinful reactions. So, these are our Goswamis. Okay. So, these are our 6 Goswamis. Okay. Who were in Vrindavan, right? So, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had asked them to actually go to the Vrindavan and actually excavate the Lord's pastimes, right? The places, right? And then so build temples, right? Because by then it was lost, because there were invasions, right? So we had Mughal invasions and all, so wherein the deities were lost. Okay. And then, so that's a different topic. So wherein each one actually established one temple, yeah? And then those are called Shat Goswami temples in Vrindavan. Okay. So hope we all know who our 6 Goswamis are, right? Anyone knows? Any one name is also okay. Okay. If you don't know, so then you'll get to know, right? So these things will come in your level 3
Prabhuji,
and
is this Rup Goswami?
there are 6, Mataji. So
Raghunatha Goswami, Prabhuji.
wonderful, Mataji. Yeah,
Rupa
you all know it.
Goswami.
So one is Rupa Goswami,
Gopala
Sanatan.
Bhatta
Yeah,
Goswami.
correct, Mataji. Very nice. Rupa Goswami, Sanatan Goswami, Jiva Goswami, right? Raghunath Das Goswami, and Gopal Bhatta Goswami, and Raghunath Bhatta Goswami. Okay, so we have 6 Goswamis. Okay, and then Rupa Sanatana, you'll know. So if I get time someday, I'll tell you about them. So because, and mind you that all were aristocrats. Okay. So everyone was opulently rich materially, but if you see, they have only minimum things, right? So Rupa Goswami and Sanatan Goswami, they were the prime minister and finance minister in Nawab this one regime, right? So they had palaces, their own palaces. So, but when they took up devotional service, when they met Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, so they actually left everything, and then they only had this mendicant uh, lifestyle. And then they were not even sitting in a underneath a tree for more than a day, because if they sit for more than a day under a tree, right, they'll get attached to that. So they used to actually move out every day into a new tree. I think anyhow, so that's a different thing. So they were in the they were actually the manjaris, so they were actually empowered, so they can do that, so we can't do it, so we shouldn't do artificially. That was natural. Okay. And so that's what we spoke in, right? So even in last chapter, so we should not do anything which is show bottle thing, right? So and then they were very satisfied, right? So they were actually enjoying, because when they went to Vrindavan, right, so they could actually see the pastimes. They could actually connect with Radha Rani, so they could connect with Krishna, right? But if we go, right, so we can't see anything. So for us, we don't have that, say, our vision or our thought process. We are not empowered. So just that we have got some mercy of Srila Prabhupada and Namanista Prabhu and a few of the devotees. We are talking all these things, but yes, we don't have those realizations which they have. Yeah. He who is satisfied with gain, which comes of its own accord, who is free from duality and does not envy, who is steady in both success and failure, is never entangled, although performing actions. So even though they are performing actions, they are never entangled. Yeah. Sure. Because whatever they're doing, right? So, say even we read in it, say in the second chapter also, right? Sthita Pragya, right? He is not affected by anything, right? So even the Lord says, right? So you'll have to actually um, you'll have to withstand, right? So there will be miseries and happiness, but you'll have to be equipoised, right? So if you are not equipoised, so then things will not work, right? And then they are very steady. So what is the sign of transcendental knowledge, right? So when one is equipoised, one is not actually say he's not involved in hypocrisy, right? And then he's independent, he's honest, right? So he's fearless. So all those things are the signs, right? So of one who is elevated, right? The work of a man who is unattached to the modes of material nature and who is fully situated in transcendental knowledge merely merges entirely in transcendence. So though they were in Vrindavan, right? So they were, and then they have written so many books, right? So all the books which we have got about bhakti, right? So these all things were written by Rupa Goswami, right? So a person who is fully absorbed in Krishna consciousness is sure to attain the spiritual kingdom because of his full contribution to spiritual activities, in which the consummation is absolute, and that which is offered is of the same spiritual nature. Yeah. Yeah. So this is the graphic example. Okay. So if we are not actually working for the Lord, and then if we are doing sense enjoyment, right? So basically, I will take the example. I think we spoke a lot about money, right? So we'll speak something about the soldiers. Okay. So what happens is the if a soldier is there, right? If he goes to a war front and then there is an order from his superior or the government orders him saying that you'll have to kill the enemy. Okay. And then he goes and kills the enemy. So if he does right and he survives, then he'll get award, isn't it? So this is in conjunction with the law or with the instructions of his superior, right? So he did it. So for that there is no karma to him because he was fighting for the nation, right? So if the soldier is fighting for the nation and then if he kills the enemies, he doesn't he doesn't have any karma. So he's not actually having anything, right? So rather he's being rewarded. Okay. So the government actually will facilitate him, right? But on the other side, if the same soldier, right, is off duty, so he has come for a vacation to his home, okay, and then there was some heated argument, and then if he actually takes his gun and then shoots his neighbor, and then the neighbor is dead, so he'll be put in imprisonment, right? So that's the difference. Yeah. So when we follow the instructions of the Lord, so there is no akarma. If we are not following, there is no karmic reactions because we are dovetailing, right? If we are actually doing in the opposite way, then we'll have problem. So in this case, uh, even even Arjuna, because Arjuna was always thinking that what will happen. So if I fight, then I'll incur sins, and then say this will. So he was always thinking of the karma bit, right? So to that, this is the answer. So now everyone actually does some sacrifice, okay, and then sacrifice has to be done, okay. So this leads to liberation. There are different types of sacrifices, okay, so which will actually lead to the transcendental knowledge, to the jnana, okay. So there are different types of some do yajnas, right, some do yoga, right? So and then some actually worship the devatas to get the temporary benefits, right? So, and then we know that we did touch base this in the last class also, right? So wherein if at all the if we actually um, please the devatas, then we get the benedictions also, right? So the whole scheme, if you look in here, right? So everything is to actually to control our senses, right? So that's the thing, right? So if you actually worship devatas, if you do sacrifices, right? If you actually do some mental control, right? So some actually do yoga, right? Ashtanga yoga, and Some do some austerity, some do hatha yajna, right? So all these things are there. So because if you look right overall, in all these yajnas or which they do in, right, so everywhere they're actually trying to control the senses in one way or the other. Okay, so even if we have to satisfy the devatas, right, so we'll have to do some austerity, right? So it's not that they'll get satisfied easily. Yeah, compared to Lord Krishna, right, they'll get you can satisfy them, but it's not that say anyone can actually go and satisfy the devatas. Even Hiranyakashipu, right? So how did he do the tapasya? He did tapasya with single leg, so for some 1,000 years, and then all termites, all ant-hills grew across his body, and then his head was only left out, right? And then the all termites were also eating his body. And then Brahma appeared, and then he gave him his original form. Yeah, so that's the penance. That's the way they used to do tapasya. So it's not easy. Yeah. So different ways of doing sacrifices are there, right? So sacrifices are there. Okay, so some do say like sacrifice in Havan Kund and all. Okay, so these are the different ways, right? So few to the devatas, few to the impersonalist, right? So and then Krishna consciousness. Okay, so these are the devotees. So this is so there is no happiness without sacrifice. Okay, so all sacrifice have to be performed with the knowledge of their purpose and goals. So if we know that, then that will actually help in. Yeah. So basically, what happens is uh, if we have a lot of bhogavritti, right? So if you want more bhoga, then what happens is you'll get rogue. Okay. So and then once you get rogue, then you'll do yoga. So this is the cycle. Okay. So the cycle people tend to follow. So when you, for example, um, so one is overeating. Okay, that's he's eating more than what is required, right? And then he becomes fat. What does he do? So he gets some diseases, and then because once you get fat, then you get some disease, right? Then you'll start doing yoga. He'll do exercise. And what will after some days again he'll get into the trap. Again he'll do the same thing. Again overeating, again getting some disease, again do yoga. So that's the thing, right? So it's called bhog, yog, rog. Sorry, bhog, rog, and yog. So not all of them, but yeah. So mostly it happens in, yeah. So and then the other thing is others who are interested in achieving self-realization through control of mind and senses offer functions all of the senses and life and breath, the ovulations of fire in control mind. So even in grahastha life, right? So they do sacrifices, right? So in every ashrama, right? So we have got the prescribed duties to be done, right? So it's not that so it is for the sense gratification. So everywhere we'll have to control our senses, right? So even if somebody wants to enter into grihastha life, right? So then he has to get married. So you cannot enjoy life outside marriage, right? So that's not correct. That's not written in shastras, right? So in that way, yeah. So I'll not go into details. There are so many things which we can discuss, though. Yeah. So all performers who know the meaning of sacrifice become cleansed of sinful reactions, and having tasted the nectar of results of sacrifice, they advance towards the supreme eternal atmosphere. So the Lord is saying that those who know, right? So this particular thing, right? So whatever we do, so ultimately it should actually be for the satisfaction of the Lord, right? So it should be in devotion, right? So if we are doing anything so which is connection to the Lord, keeping Him as the center, right? So then those are cleansed. Yeah. So basically, sense gratification is the root cause of material existence. Yeah. So that's the problem. Okay. Yeah, I think, yeah. And then, oh, best of Kuru dynasty, without sacrifice, one can never live happily on this planet or in the life. What then of the next? So we'll have some sacrifice has to be done, right? So without that, we can never live happy. So if we are doing um, the sense gratification, right? So then we'll have the same kind of result. So that is if we should not fall in the vikarma, right? So we went through those things, right? And then he says that the Lord says that, O chastiser of the enemy, the sacrifice performed in knowledge is better than mere sacrifice of material possession. So any sacrifice which we do in knowledge is better. And then that will actually culminate into the transcendental knowledge. So, and then the real knowledge is the transcendental knowledge. Yeah. So that's the highest perfection of the knowledge. Right. So that's at the spiritual level. So now the next section actually teaches us how do we achieve this transcendental knowledge, right? And then the symptoms of one who has successfully applied, right? So now how to achieve this transcendental knowledge? Okay. So this is how one will receive the transcendental knowledge. Okay. So it is from the verse 4.34. Yeah. तद्विद्धि प्रणिपातेन परिप्रश्नेन सेवया उपदेयक्षन्ति ते ज्ञानं ज्ञानिनस्तत्त्वदर्शिनः. So this is how you actually get the knowledge. Just try to learn the truth by approaching a spiritual master. Okay. Enquire from him submissively and render service unto him. Okay. So how do we get this transcendental knowledge is by accepting a guru. So he will actually help us. Okay. So and then he will guide us. So first thing is we'll have to find a bona fide path. Yeah. So and then we'll have to serve and by submission. Okay. So one first you'll have to actually surrender and then you'll have to serve and then you can actually ask him. Okay. The questions. So the questions which are related to the spiritual life. How do I progress in spiritual life or anything of that sort? Okay. Anything related to the spiritual growth. So those should be asked. So yeah. Then because they will give the knowledge, they'll impart the knowledge because they are self-realized souls. Okay. The self-realized souls can impart the knowledge onto you because they have seen the truth. So they'll impart from heart to heart. Yeah. So but provided we have that submission and then say we have um, that service attitude, then only things will happen. Yeah. So it's not that so what happens is basically in the materialistic way, right? So everyone wants to actually showcase their skills and talent, right? So what happens is even um, if someone is actually preaching or teaching in a class, right? So in one section, somebody might be knowing something, okay, and say he'll feel superior at that time. And then even though if you know the knowledge, right? So if the guru is teaching you, right? So he'll be teaching you something extra, right? So we'll have to submissively hear, right? So then only we can actually progress. And then if we have some doubts in it, right? So saying example like probably say if the guru has advised you to chant, right? And then you go and tell him that I tried, but it's not working out for me. My mind is stable or so, or is unstable or whatsoever. If you take, then he'll guide you. But we should never actually pose questions wherein to test the knowledge, whether he knows it or not. Okay. So maybe some section you might have heard from someone, and then you feel that, okay, yeah, so this I know, and then I'll test him whether he'll answer the same thing. If he answers the same thing, okay, say he's fine, or else he doesn't know anything. So all those things we should not get into. Okay. So our agenda is not to test knowledge of others. Our agenda is how we can actually get the knowledge, the proper guidance of spirit, and how we can actually move ahead in our spiritual journey. So that should be our ultimate goal. So that is the goal of our life also, right? So it's not that to become superior and then to make someone inferior. Nothing works in that way. At least in spiritual life, will not work in that way. So if at all we have any tinge of those qualities, right? So again, we'll be in this material world, taking the same birth, life, birth, age old, disease, death. That cycle will continue. Yeah. And then if you look in this picture, right? So do you know what this picture is? Who is this person, and then who are these two? Any guesses? Who is this teacher?
Is the teacher of
Santamuni,
Yeah, correct, Mataji.
Balarama and Sri Krishna.
Yeah. So this is Sandipani Muni. Okay. And then Lord Krishna, actually, he also went to the Gurukul. Okay. So though he was the Lord, right, there was no necessity, but he also went to the Gurukul just to showcase others that so we'll have to follow that dharma. Okay. So if he is actually accepting a bona fide spiritual master and then he's getting trained under someone, right? So that is the path he has shown us. So we'll also have to do the same to gain this spiritual knowledge. Okay. So, and then having obtained such real knowledge from a self-realized soul, you will never fall again into such illusion. Okay. For by this knowledge, you will see that all living beings are but part of the Supreme, or in other words, they are mine. So you'll see they're all spirit souls, right? So if you get the knowledge from such an elevated soul, right, you'll actually see the difference. Yeah. Even if you are considered to be the most sinful of sinners, you are situated in boat of transcendental knowledge. You will be able to cross the ocean of miseries. Okay. So as a blazing fire turns to ashes, O Arjuna, so does the fire of knowledge burns to ashes of all reactions to the material activities. So this is what it will happen. So once you get the knowledge, right, so all those things will be burned up, all your sins. So this is we are coming to the end, right? A faithful man who is dedicated to transcendental knowledge and who subdues his senses is eligible to achieve such knowledge, and having achieved it, he quickly attains the supreme spiritual peace. So we'll actually have to control our senses. So without controlling the senses, right, these things will not happen, and then all these things will happen gradually. So first thing is we should have proper knowledge, right? So then only we can move into these things. Yeah. So and then how do we gain this knowledge, right? So all these things in the next verse. So from the scriptures, right? So we'll have to read the scriptures. So that is the next verse. Yeah. And but ignorant and faithful persons who doubt the revealed scriptures do not attain God consciousness. They fall down. So this is what will happen if you don't have faith. So they'll have to fall down because they are doubting the soul, right? So for the doubting soul, there is happiness neither in this world or in the next world. Okay. So if you are doing devotional service in this life also, right, so you'll be happy. So go to any of the temple, right? So will you feel sad? Never, right? So because the vibes are such, right? And then what is the loss, right? So you'll enjoy in this life also, you'll enjoy in the next life also, right? So basically, and then where do we get this knowledge? So this knowledge we can only get through the books, right? The scriptures, right? Scriptures like Bhagavadgita, which we are reading in, and then say if we read Bhagavatam, right? So if we actually read these books, right? So we'll get perfect knowledge, right? And there are other scriptures like Rama and Mahabharata are there. But at least to come to a level of transcendental knowledge, right? We should first finish Bhagavad Gita and then followed by Bhagavatam. Yeah? Therefore, the doubts which have arisen in your heart of ignorance should be slashed by the weapon of knowledge. So, whatever doubts you are having in, right? So, Krishna says that those have to be cut, right? So, because now I have given you the knowledge, right? So, with this knowledge, you will actually you'll cross over the ocean of miseries, right? So, this is the end of this chapter. So, here, Lord Krishna is actually giving him the jnana, right, in transcendental knowledge. Okay, Hare Krishna. Mataji, you had some question.
Yes, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Like we need to chant 16 rounds, no, Prabhuji, and need to follow scriptures and Lord instructions like
Yes,
that.
Mataji. Yes,
So if
Mataji.
we start a little bit and we can't able to finish 16 rounds and we only chanting 2 rounds, 3 rounds like that, only
Mataji.
following some of them, then
Ah,
our next life will be like higher than this human life, no, Prabhuji. Like at the time of death, what we are thinking, like based on that, Prabhuji, or how it is.
yes, Mataji. So, we have this shloka also, right, in second chapter, right? So, in spiritual life, right, Neha Vikramanashosti Pratyavayono Vidyate, right? So, whatsoever effort we have put in, right, in this life, in spirituality, right? So, whatever steps, baby steps you have taken. So, in the next life, you'll start from there, Mataji. Say, as you said, right, if there are 16 stairs and then you could only climb 2 in this particular lifetime. So in your next lifetime, you'll start from the third staircase, from the third stair. Okay. So in that way, Mataji. So wherever we have left, right? So we'll actually start from there. Our so in this lifetime, whatever spiritual progress we have done, right? So depending upon that, uh, so we'll start from there in the next life. So it's not like our material degrees wherein if this lifetime if I'm a teacher, so next time I'll also become an headmaster. No. So next life again I'll have to start reading and then whatever degree I obtain, I get the job. Yeah. So it'll again start from your LKG. It answers Mataji your question or you have anything else?
Yes, Prabhuji, it's clear. And I have one more doubt, like 1 minute, Prabhuji, here noise is coming. I will put in the chat box.
No, that's
Some
okay, Mataji.
celebrations are going
No,
on, like
we are not
Lord.
able to hear. So it's okay. So your voice is clear. Hope you all have given the attendance, right? You mark your attendance and then tomorrow is Ekadashi. So tomorrow is Bhishma Ekadashi. So try to fast if at all, if it's possible, right? So it is good. And then chant more rounds and then reread scriptures. So basically on the day of Ekadashi, the Lord's mercy is more. Okay. So it's like any other sale we have, right? Usually it's like sale, right? So if you chant more rounds, then it'll have more impact. Yeah. Okay, Mataji, you are asking something, you're typing, or
actually. Like Prabhuji, like basic steps is like 16 rounds chanting and preaching and book distribution. Like whatever possible, like complete efforts we should keep, or any some basic rules are there, Prabhuji?
Mataji, say initially, say you don't get in, say get tensed about say what should be done, right? So first try with small steps only, Mataji. Say if you are able to chant initially with 2 rounds, it's okay, but chant those 2 rounds perfectly. Okay, so you should be able to hear the 16 words, Mataji. So if you are able to hear, so if you are able to concentrate properly, and then if you're at this stage, if you're at the beginning stage, if you're chanting 2 or 4 rounds is also okay. It's not a problem. But whatever chanting we do, it should be of quality, proper quality, Mataji. It's not that I'm running and chanting will not work. So sit in a proper place in a calm mind, right? So try to chant, right? So it could be any time of the day. So the best time would be in the morning. So if we can do it in the early in the morning, so, but if we are housewives and then if there are other obligations which we can't do in the morning, that's okay. So you can take a pleasant time when you don't have any work, and then you can actually sit and chant nicely. So that would be the best thing. Start with whatever rounds you can do, right? And then slowly the taste develops,
And
Mataji.
like while we chanting, can we hear pastimes of Lord, or only we need to hear the Hare Krishna Mahamantra?
We should only hear what you are uttering. So only the mantra you should actually, so whatever you are um, speaking, right? So the words Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. So only those things you'll have to listen, Mataji. It is, we should not actually tune into any other music or look at some movie and then chant. That will not work out. So every word which comes
No,
out of your
not music, Prabhuji, like Bhagavadgita,
no,
Bhagavatam lectures.
no, nothing doing parallel, because you are not doing the justice, right? So one thing is you are not hearing the past tense properly, so which is also not good, right? So you are disrespecting that. And the other thing is you are not chanting your rounds properly. That is also a disrespect. So either at a time do one thing. If you want to listen Bhagavatam class or Bhagavad Gita, listen that. Finish that, then do your chanting. Yeah, Mataji. Because while chanting only, you'll have to focus
Okay,
on the Hare
Prabhuji.
Krishna Maha Mantra, and then you'll have to digest that. Nothing else. Okay.
Okay, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Thank you all for your association. Vancha kalpatarobhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnebhyo namo namah. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.